Hello, this is astrologer coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming solar eclipse, which will be exact at 10.5 degrees of Taurus on April 30th at 4:28 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and 9:28 p.m. London time. Now, solar eclipses are extra powerful new moons that take place approximately every 6 months. And this is the first one of the solar eclipses in 2022, and also the first solar eclipse in Taurus in this particular eclipse cycle that will be in effect until July 2023. Now, eclipses usually come in pairs, so there's usually a solar and a lunar eclipse. And eclipse season starts approximately 10 days before the first eclipse. So it started 10 days before April 30th. And then it will last until 10 days after the last eclipse that takes place. So that will be May 26th. Now, to read more about eclipses in general, please go to my website at astrologercoach.com and read the Solar Eclipse in Taurus article. I will post this article on April 22nd, the latest. So feel free to read more about eclipses. There's so much more to talk about, but I don't want to make this video over an hour long. So I want to make sure we can fit everything into this video. Now, one thing I will mention though is that the moon nodes always play a crucial part with eclipses. Usually the moon nodes align with the sun and the moon. And this being a North Node eclipse, we are invited to move towards a new exploration of an energy that promotes our soul's evolution. So eclipses are really about soul evolution. And so we are asked to focus on the energies of the sign involved in the eclipse, which in this case, of course, is Taurus, and work with the lighter or higher frequencies of those energies as much as possible. Now, a North Node eclipse highlights our ability for individual and collective growth and evolution. So if you're looking for more guidance on the impact this eclipse could have on you personally, I would suggest taking a look at your natal chart, your birth chart. And the house placement of the eclipse will indicate which area of life is the readiest to embrace more abundance and rise to a new level of consciousness around self-worth and honoring the self. Now, if you need some help with that exploration, feel free to click on the link below this video and get my webinar, Eclipse Season and Pluto Station, April-May 2022. We did a webinar on that subject and we looked at all of our birth charts in connection with the eclipses, with both eclipses and the Pluto station. So feel free to take a look at that if that's of interest. Now, solar eclipses are also a good time to go within and seed anything we'd like to learn over the next 6 months. So we'll dig into this in more detail towards the end of this video when we talk about setting solar eclipse intentions. So stay tuned for that. And please note that setting intentions for a solar eclipse new moon is different from a regular new moon. Okay, so definitely stay tuned if you want to know what the difference is. And then also I will have timestamps below this video as well. Now, one major thing to note in this new moon solar eclipse chart is we have one planet in a very exalted state, which is Pluto in Capricorn, because Pluto starts its retrograde phase the day before the eclipse becomes exact. And then we also have one planet conjunct the eclipse, which is Uranus in Taurus. And both of those planets are outer planets. And so this indicates that there's quite a big impact with this eclipse on the collective as well as the individual. So you want to keep that in mind. Pluto is also the modern ruler of Scorpio, and the South Node is currently in Scorpio. So we are invited to really evolve beyond outdated power structures, whether that's internal stuff or external stuff. And always remember the external reflects the internal. So if you're seeing something in the external world, a power structure in the external world that you think needs to change, check internally how that resonates internally for you and how you might want to change that within yourself as well. Now, pay attention what disempowers you at this time, because that will be the key to how we can find greater empowerment. So ask yourself, what structures no longer empower me in my life? What am I most aware of right now? And if I'm honest, if I'm truly honest, what will almost inevitably break down over the long haul simply because it's no longer sustainable? And then what's stemming from the past needs to be transformed for me to experience greater abundance and stability? And what might transform if I focused 5% more on what I actually have influence over? And this is a great, great question with this strong Pluto, because we often focus on things that we don't have any influence over, and we're not even aware of that. So we need to first of all become aware of what do we have influence over and what don't we have influence over. And then once we can distinguish the two, then focus on the things that we actually have influence over. And you'll be surprised how little stuff we actually have influence over. So it requires also, this ability to trust life, to trust that if I am focused on the things that I do have influence over, that the rest life will take care of. So before we go any further with Pluto, let's talk about the sign of Taurus, because the solar eclipse is in Taurus. And Taurus is a very steady, peaceful energy that places focus on our interactions with the physical world. You could say that we seek a healthier relationship with matter, a relationship which we are neither too attached to the physical nor too disconnected from things on the physical plane. So for example, that would be things like our body, our resources such as money or possessions, and the planet we co-inhabit, because the planet is definitely the most physical of all. And so we're powerfully reminded to really take the time to honor our own body, to honor the only planet that we currently live on, and to honor its resources and its beauty, to honor our own resources, our own beauty. So whether or not you have natal planets in Taurus, we all have Taurus somewhere in our birth chart. And wherever we have Taurus in our birth chart, we are seeking to develop our own values and discover what brings us pleasure and peace, contentment and material security. So check to see where that might be for you. And this is a good time to reevaluate our relationship with money and possessions also, to discover what truly makes us happy and fulfilled. So check in with yourself. What came to mind when you heard me say all of that? What came to mind? And, feel free to always journal on the coaching questions, or to meditate on them, or to just allow yourself to sit with the questions and see what comes up intuitively. What are some of the first things that come to you that you're receiving? You don't have to try to find the answers actively. Allow there to be more of an intuitive process, more of a feminine process with this. Now, Taurus also connects us to nature. Being in nature improves not only our physical, emotional, and mental health, but it also strengthens our spirituality. And, studies have shown that a walk in the park, or even looking at trees through a window or at a plant in your own house, decreases blood pressure and stress hormones. So time in nature, or surrounding ourselves with nature or plants, has also been shown to boost the immune system and longevity. So ask yourself, how could I support my body and my nervous system over the next 6 months? Remember, eclipse season lasts 6 months. And what is the best fit for me, for my body, and for my nervous system? What might I want to do that really is in alignment with what works best for me? Now, as I mentioned earlier already, Pluto in Capricorn is very exalted at the time of the eclipse. And it will remain exalted until May 14th. So this emphasizes some very powerful issues that we are currently dealing with on a collective level. Remember, Pluto is an outer planet, so it manifests very greatly collectively. And so there's a sort of a rebirthing of our economic, social, and financial structures going on currently, which could in turn bring up feelings of being out of control. Because whenever we're rebirthing something, there's a sense of transition. There's a sense of something old is ending, something new is beginning. There's an ending and the beginning that connects us always to that Pluto process. So whenever there is a process like that, we have moments of feeling out of control. We have moments of feeling scared. So for that reason, we also might experience things like grief, tremendous pressure to achieve or to survive, or other really intense feelings could come up as we're going through this transition. And so the more we obsess, the more out of control we're going to feel. And that's something we have to remember with Pluto. Pluto has a tendency for us to obsess because we want to be in control. We want to feel okay. We want to soothe our fears and sometimes obsessing feels like we're taking care of the fear. However, that it does the opposite. So both on a personal and on a collective level, observe in the moment what works and what doesn't work for you, rather than holding on to any obsessive thoughts or traumatized feelings that are stemming from the past that no longer serve you. And of course, being kind with yourself is really important, and trusting the process. Trust is really big with Pluto. It really helps us. So ask yourself, how might releasing old behaviors or patterns of self-protection stemming from past trauma or from painful experiences support me in the long run? So how could releasing these old behaviors and patterns support me in the long run? And once I'm aware of what they are, what these patterns or behaviors are, could I experiment with surrendering all of my fears to a higher power? For example, the power of my eternal soul or my divine self. That there's something bigger than just the human me, or the human identity, I should say. Or that there's something beyond that human identity that guides me, that shows me the path, the higher path. So once I'm aware of what these old behaviors or patterns of self-protection are, could I experiment with surrendering all of my fears to a higher power? Now, the exalted Pluto in Capricorn also sextiles Neptune-Venus-Jupiter. There's like an alignment between those planets in Pisces. And so this sextile is an opportunity to bring an open heart and mind to the process of releasing or transforming our outdated and toxic systems in our lives. So ask yourself, how might expanding my heart support me in letting go of outdated or non-sustainable behaviors or obsessions? Could be something like almost like an addiction too. Sometimes with Pluto, there's a bit of an addiction that we have to power, or an addiction to, needing to be in control in some way. And how about placing 5% more trust in the divine plan of things? And to just kind of see that there's always like a divine plan. And what might it look like if I moved from survival mode to a passionate engagement with life? Remember, Pluto is very black and white. There is a part of us that can connect to Pluto on this very highest vibration, which is passion and feeling completely alive. And on the lowest vibration, Pluto is all about survival mode, protecting ourselves, being fearful, right? So we want to kind of like gauge, like, how can we move from survival mode to a passionate engagement with life? And of course, often that requires trust, and that requires letting go of the things that we think are connected to the survival mode. Now, we will talk about Pluto in much more detail also in our next video, because the lunar eclipse in Scorpio will have a very strong connection to Pluto. So stay tuned for that. That will be in another 2 weeks from now. But now for this eclipse chart, let's talk about Uranus, because Uranus is in such close proximity to the new moon, to that solar eclipse. And so it plays a really important part over the next 6 months. And this Uranus really underlines the message that we are ready to take our next big step on our path towards our individuation, towards being more ourselves. And we're also ready to recalibrate ourselves. We are ready for these shifts and changes that are on the horizon. And Uranus really symbolizes the desire for freedom, for equality, for unique ideas, for uniqueness in general, and most of all, progress. Uranus is very much about progress, shifting the old and moving into the new. Now, our willingness to innovate is really strong with this alignment. New and more modern ways of seeing and using and approaching our personal possessions, our valuables, money, our talents come much more into focus at this time. And it takes courage to try something new and different. So ask yourself, what is the next step on my journey towards becoming an ever stronger, healthy individual, one who honors and loves themselves and is not afraid to have different values from others. One who remains open to discover the new ways of honoring themselves. So this alignment between Uranus and the new moon solar eclipse asks us to break away from anything keeping us from honoring our uniqueness and our quirks, whatever keeps us in a rut, collectively and individually speaking. We want to break away from that. So really see if there are places in your life where you're in this rut, where you're just sort of like attached or holding on to stuff because it feels comfortable, because it's what you've always done, because it just feels safer that way. And in particularly in terms of the material safety, right? Is there any kind of stuff that you hold on to because of material safety? So just remember, shifts are happening everywhere. It's time to develop some self-love and some awareness. So ask yourself, where do I want to have more certainty in my life? Where do I want to break free? And in what ways is my body recalibrating to break free from outdated habits or outdated values? Habits and values that keep me stuck in sort of like a lower, denser vibrational place. And if I gave myself permission to make a big leap, where would I most likely land? Now, what might become possible if I surprised myself once a day for the next 6 months? Because remember, Uranus also has a lot to do with surprises, being surprised or sort of like experiencing something that was completely unexpected. And, solar eclipses are already, or eclipses in general, are already sort of like a very uncertain or unexpected time that we're moving through, because we're recalibrating and we're in a transitional phase where we're moving into like a higher vibrational state. So with Uranus also being conjunct the solar eclipse, we are certainly going to feel this sense of not knowing what's next. So allow yourself to really be brave and trust that whatever comes next is in our best and highest interest, and that it will bring us to that next place of our evolutionary process, collectively and individually speaking. Now, Venus is, of course, an important planet in the solar eclipse charts because it is the ruler of Taurus, and it is currently in the late degree of Pisces at the time of the solar eclipse and makes an exact alignment with Jupiter, also in the late degree of Pisces. And this has us seeking out relationships that support the realization of a dream or connect us more fully to our own compassionate hearts. It also increases our longing for spiritual connection with ourselves, with others. We just want to really feel this like oneness. So something to contemplate or journal on for the next 6 months might be if everything is interconnected on an energetic level and everything is energy. Even the densest of masses deep down are just energy. Might it make sense to be really conscious and aware of how I treat everyone and everything around me, including myself, including my body? And might it make sense that my thoughts and behaviors have a direct impact on the whole energy field that we all co-inhabit? Could it potentially have a direct impact on me if I were to disregard this interconnectivity? If everything is energy, then nothing is truly separate. It may feel that way or seem that way to the naked eye. But if we go beyond our five senses, and we look more closely at how energy operates, and physics, of course, tells us a great detail how energy operates, then we can see how there is no separation. There's no true separation. Everything is interconnected. And I should also mention here that we may spend our money on things that don't make complete sense with having Venus and Jupiter in such close proximity in Pisces. But if we listen to our intuition carefully and allow for energy to flow freely, we may discover that the universe is always supporting us. So since we have 4 out of 10 planets in this eclipse chart in Pisces, that's a lot, Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter, we may want to find some balance through the discerning energy of Virgo. Remember, whenever there's a lot of planets in one place or there's an exalted planet in one sign, it's always a good idea to go to the opposite side of those planets or that planet, to the opposite side of that sign, and seek balance through integrating both of these signs with each other. So Pisces asks us to trust and stay in the flow of things, and Virgo invites us to be practical and maybe write things down. Because Pisces might be just a little bit too up there, dreamy and, floating around. So Virgo grounds us, and Virgo says, write it down. Now, just 10 days after the solar eclipse becomes exact, Jupiter will start its first pass through Aries for the first time in 12 years, where it will journey until October 28th of 2022. So Jupiter feels quite fiery in Aries. So we're likely to experience this transit kind of like fast and furious with Jupiter in Aries. And it's a great energy for starting things. So if you have been wanting to start something, with Jupiter moving into Aries, that might be the right time to do it. So where in your life were you waiting to make a big leap forward? So just check in with that once Jupiter moves into Aries on May 10th. Now, we will talk more about Jupiter's journey through Aries in my next forecasting forum on May 21st. So feel free to join us live or register to get the MP4 video presentation of that live event. And there will be a link below this video to join the forecasting forum. So feel free to click on that link. And as always, of course, there's an early bird special, which is available until May 18th at midnight Eastern time. So feel free to take advantage of that if you're not yet a star member. And then the new moon solar eclipse and Uranus in Taurus also sextile Mars in Pisces. And this gives us an opportunity to put a new spin on our prior use of the masculine energies and learn to see our connection to the divine in a new light, in a new way, have a new approach. Now, we also have an opportunity here to draw on our divine masculine when connecting to the physical realm. It's advisable to pay attention to our energy levels when starting anything. It's very important. Mars is in Pisces, so energy has a lot to do with the Pisces energy. So check your energy levels. Rest if you need to rest. Go out there and do things if that feels like your energy level is up to par. And then also with this sextile, we have to remember that Taurus ultimately seeks to honor spirit in form. Because Taurus is about the form, the body, the physical. And it also ultimately seeks to honor recognizing the physical world as an expression of the divine and the body as a sacred vehicle. That, the body is the vehicle that we have to allow ourselves to be on this planet, to have this physical journey, to allow our spirit, our soul, to experience life on this planet in this particular way. Now, Pisces understands the paradox between the physical and the spiritual, between matter and energy. And so therefore, this is really an opportunity to join our need for material comfort and enjoyment of life with this more spiritual and more intuitive approach, with a more gentle approach. So ask yourself, how might meditation or mindfulness, simply being present in the now moment to all the energies inside and around me, support my enjoyment of life? If we were just aware of all of that, how could that support my enjoyment of life? And what might merging my 5 senses with my 6th sense bring into awareness? And what small step could I take towards this? And what if there were a huge leap I could make? What might that be? Now, another aspect in this solar eclipse chart is Saturn in Aquarius, which is in a strong square to the moon nodes in 23 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. And Saturn will make that square to the moon nodes until June 17th because of Saturn's station retrograde phase that takes place in May and June. So the planet will slow down. So that's why this square lasts so long. And we talked about this already a little bit in last month's full moon video. Now, with this square, we get a major opportunity to stretch and grow in regards to our collective and individual soul's journey right now. So ask yourself, where do I need to decide to take more responsibility within my communities or with like-minded people or within my networks? What might it make possible for me and my communities if I got really clear about what future I would like to live into? Having this vision, having this focus on a future that we actually want to live into, rather than a future that we want to avoid. Then what role do thoughtful commitments and collaborative spirit play in all of this? How can we envision a future that we want to live into? How can we get there through thoughtful commitment and collaborative spirit? And how about taking responsibility for how I show up in my various communities? Am I able to be myself in those communities? Am I able to be authentic? Do I speak my truth responsibly? Do I allow others to be themselves as well in those communities, in those networks? Do I allow others to speak their truth? Because if I'm not allowing other people to speak their truth, how can I expect others to hear me, to hear my truth? So I always remember it's a two-way street. We have to really allow people to be themselves in order for us to be able to be ourselves. Now, most of us want peace and abundance for ourselves and for others, a world in which we can all appreciate and enjoy life with minimal interruption and with the certainty that we are physically taken care of. So ask yourself, what if my taking the time to focus on building a future that realistically supports all or most human beings could actually bring about all of that for everyone, myself included? This sense of peace and abundance, this sense of enjoying life, appreciating life, having minimal interruptions, being taken care of on a physical level. What if building a future that realistically supports all or most human beings could actually bring about all of that for everyone, myself included? Great question to journal on, to meditate on. So feel free to engage with these questions as much or as little as you like. And to sum it all up, it is our best and highest interest right now to honor our physical experience as we move through this human life. And the solar eclipse in Taurus really reminds us that happiness is ultimately an inner state. It's not something that we get from somebody else or from something else. It's an inner state. We must each honor our own values and find appreciation and inner fulfillment wherever we can. And the more we can honor ourselves just as we are, our talents, our relationship to the physical realm, the more we can connect to the love and the abundance that surrounds us in every moment. So ask yourself, what would I need to add or subtract from my life to better experience it as peace, as abundance, and radiant love? And might adding a daily dash of love, grace, and gratitude add to my joy on this physical journey? And how might I become 5% more resourceful? How might an open-minded and hearted connection with others support me when things feel rough? Now, it is also in our best and highest interest to honor the earth, the planet we live on. We have to remember that the planet is essentially the most important thing for us to honor in order for us to have our own health. So the planet is the foundation of our personal health, because the planetary health, the quality of air, of water, of soil, and many other ecological factors, that all contributes to our own personal health, to the health of the human race, the survival of the human race. And again, that's something to contemplate and something to be with, sit with, meditate on, not from a place of fear, but from a place of really embracing that and doing what we can to create a future that supports that. Now, please keep in mind that all eclipses transmit new energetic codes and transformative downloads symbolized by the sign involved in the eclipse. And so the more receptive we are to these transformative downloads, the more open we are, the more we just allow that to take place, the more quickly and easily we can integrate all of this. And time in nature, meditation, art, and spiritual endeavors support this integrative process and help us better to attune to these evolutionary upgrades. Now, because eclipses are so powerful, they require a bigger orb than a regular full moon or new moon when it comes to, seeing how that impacts us personally. And I usually use a 5-degree orb instead of a 2-degree orb. So since the solar eclipse takes place in 10.5 degrees of Taurus, you want to check and see, do you have an ascendant, a career point, or personal planets in 5 to 16 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius? Now, let's talk a little bit about setting intentions for a solar eclipse, because that is a little different from a regular monthly new moon process, because we're setting intentions for a whole 6-month eclipse cycle rather than just for 28 days. Also, solar eclipse intentions are best done 48 hours after the eclipse becomes exact. We are downloading new templates at the time of an eclipse. So 48 hours before and after an eclipse are the most powerful energies, where it's really quite intense. So we really want to wait until all these energies and these downloads have settled before we set our intentions. We also definitely do not want to do setting intentions during a moon void, of course, same as with a new moon. So given all this, here is the best and most potent time to set our solar eclipse intentions for this eclipse cycle. And it would be between 4:28 p.m. on May 2nd until 4:28 p.m. on May 4th. So it's a very nice and clean 48 hours. There's no moon void, of course, this time around. So this is wonderful. Please also keep in mind that the times given here are US Eastern Time, New York time zone. So if you are in a different time zone than that, please adjust to that and set powerful intentions. Remember, they cover the next 6 months, and if possible, align them with the Taurus energy and what we talked about in this solar eclipse video. And if you live in a time zone other than Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and converting is not your thing, you don't know how to adjust that to your own time zone, then just join my Facebook fan page or follow me on Twitter. I will post reminders when it's the most potent time to set your solar eclipse intentions. For more information about setting intentions, go to my website, to the blog page, to astrology articles, or click on a tag that says New Moon Intentions. There will also be a link below this video for that, just to click on that if that's easier. And to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, you can do that via my homepage at astrologercoach.com, or you can also email me at info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line. The monthly newsletter has special offers. It gives you the new moon videos and solar eclipse videos. There are also announcements connected to courses or webinars that I'm teaching. So feel free to sign up for that. If you have any general questions about the solar eclipse or generally about astrology, feel free to email me at info@astrologercoach.com. Personal questions that require me to pull up your personal birth chart, please book a reading at astrologercoach.com. You can book a reading either with me or with Leah, who is also a soul-based astrologer. You will see on my website both options are available. But also, if you have any questions that are connected to what's coming up within the next 30 or 40 days, you can check out either my next monthly forecasting forum on May 21st. Again, we will focus on Jupiter's journey through Aries, which starts on May 10th. Or you can also check out my webinar about the eclipses and eclipse season. That might answer a lot of your questions as well. All right, now my member will see me in 2 weeks around the time of the full moon, which will also be a powerful lunar eclipse. The next eclipse will actually be even more powerful than the first eclipse, because the moon nodes are going to be so much closer to the sun and the moon. So if you want to have access to this full moon video or lunar eclipse, feel free to become a member on my site. And if you're already a member, we can look at what we have discovered since setting our solar eclipse intentions with this lunar eclipse video and how this all is going to unfold for us on a more emotional level. And if you do not wish to be a member right now, feel free to join us again in another 4 weeks with the new moon that's coming up again. Stay healthy, focus on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Remember, this is an uncertain time, so feel free to ground as much as possible. Keep raising your own frequencies through activities and daily routines that support a higher vibrational outcome. And that should really support you through this eclipse season. Now, have a good one. Happy eclipse season. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.